in this piece, I take the audience with me to meet and to get to know Israel as a woman. So I'm playing this game with them where I am Israel and they answer my questions. And that's how we get to know each other in a different way than when you think of Israel as a concept or as an abstract idea. So it has a physicality and it has emotions. And later on we go through the map, and I invite them to fill this map with their own feelings and bodies. So the body is really the main material used, and it's used as an image, first of all. So the map of Israel kind of looks like a body. If you try very hard to see it, you'll see it. So this is maybe the main image and the main function of the body, but ever since this notion is starting to take place in the space and time, then the body will fill other functions, and it will become the land, and it will become a material, and it will become later on an abstraction through drawing. And it's also a way my body or the body of the spectators is also a way to understand the map in a different way through the body, and to try to bypass political positions and to understand them through the body, to understand emotions through the body. It's a way to bypass a certain discourse that is not functioning anymore, in my opinion. And then this piece is really, it's kind of a, it's an empty vessel to be filled. So I suggest the vessel and I ask people to fill it. So in that way, the performance is totally different each time it shows, and people really feel it with different notions. So in that way, I guess I'm not sure it's really not so much about history as it is about really just what we feel in this moment, or how we can describe what we feel in this moment in relation to Israel. But it really offers a way to keep changing every time. So it's not telling anything. I try not to be telling, or to be telling as little as possible, to be deciding as little as possible, and to let each time the audience really change it. And so in this way, it's really a notion just to keep changing every time. Yeah, so this is actually the first time it's going to be performed outside of Israel. It's very exciting and very, very, very moving to me, and I'm very curious to see what is going to happen. In Israel, I've done it with very different audiences, in age, in political positions, in backgrounds, in their approach to theater. I've done it with people who are really theater, goers, and others who don't have any relation to to art or to theater, and it varies so much from time to time, and it can be read in such different ways. So I've had people coming to tell me how much it's such a patriotic piece, and other people would tell me it's so subversive. How can you do this in schools? So it's really, every time you're in a show, you really see something different. So it's a good idea to come more than once, just to see the possibilities that it offers. So yeah. I don't know if it affects the way I perform, but it for sure affects the way people respond. I think that's more accurate to say, because again, every time it's a suggestion for people to bring themselves into it, and of course it happens in different moments in time. surely it's a controversial issue, and it's you know, it's for sure it's difficult to approach. But for me, what I try to do is really try to offer a different way to speak about this, because I feel that if we continue to speak about political positions, then we have no way to reach each other. This is a different way to try to find another language for this, because it's too big, it's too painful, it's too difficult to reach it with the same words that we know. So this is what I'm trying to do. So this is really, I'm really trying not to bring up people's positions. This is again the part of the language. So I don't see, I've never seen a moment where people start, you know, to argue with each other, because it's not about that. So there is really a lot of emotions around Israel, and I think that surprisingly enough, although we cannot talk to each other in Israel, the discourse is now really, it's broken. There is no communication. It's just violent communication between one another. But we do share a lot of emotion in regards to our connection to that place. So even if you are very, 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 very critical about what's happening, you still care about it. And I think this is a good start, to just try to point out that you care, because we forget that sometimes, because we don't want to feel it because it's too painful. And I think that, of course, people on the right wing would, of course, you know, they state all the time that they care. So of course, it's very, you know, it's very feasible for them. But I really try to I really try that they would sit there. I would love if they would sit there and not know who are they sitting with. This is actually, I think it's a good suggestion for this. They don't know, and it could be anybody. But it's not about that. For one, you know, one instant moment in this, in the whole, you know, timeline of conflict. So there is one little moment where it doesn't matter. But you still talk. It's not that it doesn't matter because you're on the beach. It doesn't matter because even though you talk about the place you live in. Yeah. Well, I've started to develop this work from a position of wanting to explore my own connection to my country, which is not obvious to me, and it still is not obvious to me, or not, you know, deciphered for me. And I think that it's a connection maybe that we don't really, that it's very mysterious. I'd say it's very mysterious. I don't know exactly what this connection is and how to describe it. We do tend to occupy ourselves a lot with very educational language around this. So of course in school, you know, you always like, or in the youth movements, everybody's really like about how am I connected to this place and the history of this place and so forth. But it's not a language that, for me, this language is not accessible, it's not useful for me. So I try to look for another language as an artist. And of course there is, for me, of course, there is a homeland. I don't know if I'm answering your question so well, but for me, I feel, of course, there is a homeland, and the relationship I have with this place will always exist even if I don't live there. So living there is always, living outside of Israel or being outside of Israel is always, you know, it's always pointing back to this place. And I feel that this is a universal, I feel that a lot of people around the world could share this feeling. So it's not really, it's not just about Israel. So I think it's a universal notion. I think a lot of people everywhere in the world could share this feeling. And I think that this work also, it's about Israel, but it's not just about Israel. So I really believe that people from all over the world could relate, and I've already seen this happen in different places. They could relate because the connection, the complexity of connection between you and the place you live in, your homeland, is existent in everywhere, I believe. Yeah. I think that in the case of Israel, it's interesting because it's a country of immigrants. Like this whole country was born from immigrants and has immigrants and still have people inside it that define their belonging differently than other people. So it's really a never-ending, you know, you can trace these roots so to different places, and so also a lot of things have changed with the time passing. So things that were relevant and that really define the way you belong to this land or to this country in the past are not relevant anymore. And we have new generations of people either coming or born there that have to redefine the way they belong and to have to make up new ways of belonging, if it's new songs or new practices of belonging, and they do it. I think they do it mindlessly. They don't realize that this is what they're doing, but this is actually what we're doing all the time. We are reinventing the way we belong to a certain place, and this is true. I think it's true also in other places that if you're an immigrant, okay, so first of all you reach a new place and you're new, but after a while you start to belong anyway to the place. And it's interesting to start to think, how do I belong? What makes me belong to a place? I think this is an interesting idea to explore.